Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's edition of IT Doug. That's IT Documentations Users Group. We have a special guest today, so I'm just going to dive in, tell you a little bit about our group, and get you some content regarding documentation. Here we go. Brendan, you can put that slideshow on the screen for me? Hi, Daniel. All right, so the IT Documentation Users Group, for those who might be seeing this live in other platforms or watching the recording, this was originally a Facebook group, but we're now also on Reddit. So look for those online and whichever places you prefer. Also, this video and all the other IT Doug videos over the last 5 years are on our YouTube channel as well, listed on the screen. We were originally founded by Tracy Harden, who created this group to help herself learn IT glue. But then we expanded it to include more documentation platforms to help more people, because there are so many pieces that are interconnected and are the same from platform to platform. Before she invited us in to help her manage the group. And now we're over 5,100 members strong. So good job, everybody. I'm Alan. I founded Eureka Process after selling my MSP. Recently acquired by Gozynta. I'm one of the admins here. Author, speaker. I have a lot of businesses going on right now. This is my passion project. So people ask me what my hobby is, and my hobby is business. I'm not a workaholic. I just enjoy this stuff. So that's me. That's how I got to learn documentation and process. And I'm so excited to bring Daniel Wang onto IT Doug today. I believe the first time I met you, Daniel, we were at IT Nation side by side at a booth. Got to chatting with you, then saw you at a couple more trade shows. And my favorite story to tell about you is, I believe it was Houston last year. I asked you a question. I made a comment about AI, and you gave me a 4-hour response. And I'm not the type of person who can normally sit through a 5-minute response, much less 4 hours. But the information and knowledge you had was captivating, and I learned so much. And I was like, I need to keep following this guy and learning from him. So thank you for being here. Daniel started MSPBots after selling his MSP. And it's a tool we're going to tell you a little bit about today, but I really want to show you the importance of why the types of things that MSPBots does, business intelligence and automation, can benefit documentation and process. Just one quick example of the types of thing that MSPBots does, and there's other dashboard softwares out there, right? Tracking your KPIs or key performance indicators, helping you troubleshoot your numbers and your metrics, creating a scorecard on how employees are doing. These are all viable tools, and there's a key, I'll call it an axiom that I've developed, which is that metrics do not measure performance. Metrics measure adherence to process, which can lead to performance based on your processes. So I have found that I've always introduced metrics and KPIs pretty early on in a client engagement. Yes, we have to have the basic process down. We have to have the basic tools down. And then I quickly apply KPIs and metrics to show me where are those things failing at. And then once those things are adhered to perfectly, then they have a much more closer indication to what our performance is. So it's a great troubleshooting tool and a great awareness tool. And Daniel, you are welcome to weigh in at any point on these topics, but we'll also give you the floor in a few moments. And what I found interesting about MSPBots is there's lots of decent dashboarding software out there in business intelligence, but it has bots in the name. And so it can do more than just show you the numbers. It can do actions based on those numbers. Daniel, could you tell us a little bit more, like what types of triggers, what are some actual use cases for some of these bots?
Yeah, so I started MSPBots about more than 5 years ago, a little bit over 5 years, right? As a previous MSP owner, well, I still own a tiny bit about my MSP. As a previous CEO there, every day, grow my MSP from the 0 to 2.2 million. They help my friends growing it to the 49 million. I think the number one, I love what Alan talking about it, right? The people think all the KPIs, documentation is managing the performance. Is actually managing the process. right?
Right.
So all the documentation, you said we should do things this way. We should onboarding people this way, onboarding people that way, offboarding client, do the backup this way. It's a process. And or we build a lot of dashboard to really measure are people following the process or not. Because we're all human. Whenever we make mistakes, we all make mistakes. Every
What?
single human being. The problem is in the business, right? The more problem employees make, the more damage it creates for the business, and the more head scratch for the owners or the sleepless night. So that's where the bots come in. So the bots we designed to say, after of the tens of thousands KPIs we built for people, right from the more than 70 integrations, is really the somebody need to look at those dashboard, right? So what's the value of a dashboard sitting there for a couple of weeks, nobody look at it? Zero. So, it has a beautiful dashboard. We build all kinds of data. But if you are too busy, you're too overwhelmed, or like many times, if the people didn't even know what to look at it, right? Then what's the value? That's the bots come in. And every single widget, we have 3 simple steps. You can use any widgets. We call widgets as a KPI, as a trigger, right? Thousands of them. You can say whenever that number change to red, which means it's more than 5, it will change to red, trigger, right? Which is we mimic the human being. You have a service manager, you're the business owner, you look at dashboard. Why you look at dashboard? You don't go there and says, oh, I'm bored, let me watch the dashboard for fun. You're
Sometimes.
looking for, almost, yeah. So you're looking for, is there a problem in my business that I should pay attention, right? That's why you look up for the dashboard. So instead of you look at it, or your manager look at it, or your employee look at it, we use automation, the trigger to look at it. And once we find the problem, now you can have hundreds of the bots scanning the data from the 70 integrations we have 24/7. Whenever there's a problem found, we can trigger it, right? Basically send it to the Teams message, Slack message, emails, text message to notify human, hey, some process has been broken. You did or you didn't do something, caused the trouble. Here's what, here's when, how, and here's why you should fix it. And if they ignore it, you do the escalation to the manager.
Yeah, I love adding conflict to these conversations, asking the hard questions. So notifications are a nice, easy example of, if this number, then this. But I also have a personal pet peeve against notifications in our industry. For example, if you're using a dashboard to manage things, to me, you should be looking at the dashboard. And so receiving a notification is almost taking you back, encouraging you not to look at the dashboard. Do you have, but instead of picking that apart, I do the same thing in our PSAs. I'll send an email. We have a ticket. It's like, shouldn't they be watching for the tickets? Do you have another example of what you could trigger besides an alert, for example?
Yeah, so alert is other than the widget numbers, everything, right? It's an event. So I had a tons of, after I worked with the hundreds, thousand actually, MSPs. It's a lot of time people, whenever people, we push these bots, right? There are always people like, I don't want to be the big brother. This is annoying. This is micromanagement, right? I don't want to have another wife or another manager. It's already, so it's end of the day. That's why it's during our design, right? It's very flexible. You can choose when and how often, right? Something, for example, I always use example like a fire alarm. It's a super annoying. It's very difficult to disable. Why? Because your life depends on it. Is anybody complaining about, oh, that fire alarm is so annoying and it's so difficult to disable? No, because it saves your life. So it's up to the manager to choose. Human can only accept so many issues at the same time. So pick your battle, right? What you want to notify people. And for the people who complain about it, hey, it's so annoying. They're like, did you do your job correctly? Did you follow the process? What's the consequence? You don't follow the process. Hey, fire alarm sound, you should run for your life instead of complaining about the fire alarm so annoying.
So
right? But it's really up to the manager to determine how often, and what's in your message.
Yeah, I do find that the final stage for all of our clients to achieving additional success, you have to create the processes, you have to get the team buy-in for the processes, but nothing
Exactly.
works until a manager actually holds everybody accountable to the
Yeah.
process. And that looks like, I'm going to call it healthy conflict, but not being afraid to come up and say, hey, this thing's not happening. How do we fix it? Versus just ignoring it, hoping it gets better, or gentle nudges. And I
I
could see
think
how, go ahead.
that's also tie into say, this group is about a document, right? So many times my experience and my peer group, like where the documentation come from? Majority of them, I find it online. I get it from my peer group. I like it. I put there in the IT group, in the SharePoint, OneNote. Then I send to the my employees, hey, you guys follow this process.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody explained the why, right? Start with why. Why we do this process? What's the consequence? The consequence cannot be, I'm gonna be unhappy. Who give a shit? Yes, you can fire me. You're the owner. It has to be something like our client gonna suffer, right? Our business gonna get damaged. Your colleagues, gonna, not gonna work well. So when people get the why, it's so much better for that documentation or the process to be followed.
So that is a great segue. So you and I have formed a little partnership here, where we've taken the Eureka process, the processes that make up Eureka, and we've tried to compartmentalize them and make them little packages inside of the MSPBots platform. The idea being, what I feel MSPBots does is they're handling the how and the what, and what Eureka process handles is the why. So what we've done is we've actually packaged these 7 dashboards, now 8. Did I hear that TBR was working as of today? That's in the
I saw the ticket. Yeah.
Right. So, finance KPIs, we have a dashboard pre-made for that inside of MSPBot. Same for service delivery, projects, triage, RMM, company. The revenue attribution dashboard, that is a massive undertaking. It is a lot of math to tell you how much of the revenue that your companies earn is attributed to an individual technician. What a powerful way to learn if somebody is actually making the company or money or not, whether you can afford to pay them a raise. And all that math's done for you pre-packaged. So this is taking a documented process and putting it into your business intelligence. So it's more than just the data of the dashboard, but it also has links to our articles on why these metrics are important, and helps you choose what to measure, because that which gets measured gets improved. So quick preview here. Like this is the new TBR dashboard. Your mileage may vary, but just to give you an idea of what's out there.
Yeah, these are all easily customizable, right? You can add more blocks, remove some blocks, depends on how you share. And even, we have the clients. We are developing more with the Eureka process to say, hey, here's what you're supposed to do to the gold, silver, bronze. You can customize whatever the way or shape you want every month, send it by email, also include a link. They can log in, see the real version. So it's pre-built, right? It's out of the box. All the dashboard that Alan mentioned there is all you need. Link your APIs, probably spend you like 30 minutes. Link 6, 7, from your RMM, PSA, accounting, software. Then we go pull the data and give you all this ready to use dashboard. And the best part, I think, what Alan and the team, Eureka process did is really also explain why this number is important, why this number turns to red, what you should do.
And so for those of you who are maybe excited about a technology business review dashboard or a strategic business review dashboard, don't forget, you have to have the why first. This dashboard is not going to solve your problem of, hey, we need to do these. You have to have your own SOPs about, okay, who's doing them, how often, to which clients, which data do we want to present. The dashboard can certainly give you ideas, but all these dashboards are designed to put your SOPs on the rails and make it very easy to repeat the results that you want to get.
Yeah, I always say, the dashboard is a live version of your SOP. The SOP on the Word file not going to do anything. It's just sitting there waiting for somebody to look at it. But when the dashboard is the real time or every 3 minutes updating to tell you, did your team follow the SOP or not? Or help you team to follow the SOP, right?
And I mean, some business intelligence softwares do have multiple connections, but I love the number of integrations that exist. I know that Eureka Process is not your ideal client, Daniel, and we put you through the ringer because of it, because we have 3 PSAs, 2 documentation platforms, but it's been nice seeing those integrations pop up, even the newer ones, where I can put all of that into one dashboard, even combining things like Brendan, who gets the IT Doug webinar started for us. He's also our support agent for Gozynta. He's working in Freshdesk, but he's also responsible for playing dispatcher in ConnectWise and working some of those tickets. But now we can combine it to say how many tickets are coming in, how many tickets are coming out. And whenever I see an exceptional number, I check on Brendan like, hey, how's it going? This number is higher than usual. What can I do to help? And he knows I'm useless, but he at least knows that I care about how busy he is. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And one more brand new feature. I'm going to call this a beta feature for the Eureka Process side. Daniel, I know you've been doing it for quite a while, but using peer groups. Peer groups are important to help compare yourself to others, hold each other accountable. But even from a technology stack standpoint, we're able to pull in data and allow you to compare it to the rest of our clients. Now, this you do have to apply for because your data is shared with the others in the peer group, but we are starting to look at putting together at least some dashboard peer groups. So you can see, how is your resolution time? We have at this moment strategically left out all financial data from these. So to get you more comfortable with sharing like average hours of resolution. Kill rate's a terrible KPI, but it's a good metric. Our kill rate's how many tickets in versus tickets out. So over 100% or a 1.0 ratio means you're catching up on tickets, and under means tickets are stacking up. So there's a lot of power here. So I'm not even sure why I saved this slide for last. I'm always worried about vendors coming in, giving us the pitch. I love the value of what your software and similar softwares do. But so Daniel, from your perspective, I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell us why MSPBots and what problems does it solve?
Yeah, so back then, I run my MSP for day-to-day for about 6-7 years, right? And then merged with my friend, helped him for a couple of years before I started MSPBots, right? So for me, it's my number one challenge, because I also piggyback what you mentioned about the peer group. I'm super biased. I was in the multiple peer groups, and I'm super biased. I'm like, why somebody is running the MSP, not in a peer group? I don't even care which peer group. I'm just a peer group, it's just such a huge ROI, right? Because you can learn from some other 6, 7, or 7, 10 people who's as work hard as spending all the pay, learning the sense hard way that you can just get from them. So back then when I run in it, my number one challenge is really the people not following the process. That drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Because every week, every month, I'm solving the same problem. I'm a problem solver. I love solve the problem. I'm almost begging, can we just get some new problem? Not the same utilization, late time entry. We lost the client for very same problem. I'm like, oh my God, right? So that's really what MSPBots come in, is solving the why people, how we can reduce the errors that people not following the process, right? Anytime you say, oh, somebody made a mistake. Why? Because they didn't follow the process, right? So that's really the issue we try to solve, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. It just matters. Some people make more mistakes. Some people make less. Some company have the same repetitive mistakes. Some MSPs have less. The less mistakes the people inside the company make, the better your business profitability, top line revenue, the bottom line revenue going, right? So that's really the MSPBots using the dashboard to help you see the problem and use automation to solve some of those problems to make it's really just owners, managers' life easier. So you have a less of the sleepless night, and the business can grow faster, and you have some nice bottom line profit because automation took over some of the tasks.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So I've seen you actually present this slide before, just being frustrated, and you had some good stats, and I love good stats. I'm going to let you give us this part of the presentation, please, because I always love listening to it when you present on stage.
Yeah. So this is after a couple of southern companies stand up with MSP bots last 5 years. Same as you, I'm not a workaholic. I only just enjoy the building MSP bots, so spending 80 to 100 hours a week, right? there. So it's a lot of. I love to talk with MSPs. Their challenge, what we can do to solve it. So this is a summarize of the 5 areas. So we have I can touch my heart to say we're the best BI platform built for MSP industry, right? From the number of the KPI out box, how flexible it is, how expandable it is, how much pre-built assets, how many partnerships we're working with, every single angle. I can confidently say even the people who have the 3-4 Power BI, internal technician, the data analysts, the bigger company, 200-300 employees, they have a dedicated team. We can do a better job, right? So that's the step 1 is really the business intelligence is to help you quickly identify the problem. Like Alan, you mentioned early, you get a couple of TV, you walking by, you say, whoa, hold on, that number changed to red. Something's wrong there. In 5-6 seconds, you can identify something wrong instead of log in, go to the report, drive in the report, dive in, or finally you find the problem. So the less problem you have spend, the sooner you can find the problem, the sooner you can solve the problem, and the less damage you're going to create for the business, right? So then the second part is we can build a ton. We have hundreds of pre-built dashboard for every single area, from the marketing, the sales, the onboarding, the reactive, proactive project, financial, everything. Our human brain only 25 watts. You can only work 8-10 hours a day. So you cannot spend all the time, look at the dashboard doing nothing. So that's what we developed the bots. So the bots can be there, scan any dashboard for you automatically every 3 minutes, every hour, every day, looking for a problem automatically. You can have hundreds of bots, search hundreds of dashboard automatically. And whenever those bots find the problem, then they send the text message, Teams message, Slack message. And because it's worked 24/7, it's much better job. So it can save about 30-40% any manager's time. If you mention people looking for the dashboard, we can help you become better. Now, and also, back then we developed this next ticket, right? Is really focused on user algorithm dispatching. So basically take whatever your dispatcher process mapped into an algorithm. Hey, if they pay us more money, if this CEO, if the ticket is too long, SLA is about breaching, we have 40 some rules, and you can also customize any rule you want. So create this virtual dispatcher can do about 80% of dispatcher salary. In North America, that's typically a $5,000 a month, position. So we can automate 80%.
So this is basically a bot that became so big, you turned it into an app built into MSPBots.
Exactly. Initially, it's just an algorithm to say, hey, what's the weight? Which ticket, after 100 tickets, right? Which ticket is most important ticket right now? So that's what we started. But eventually people are like, oh, I want to change this way. I want to change that way. This is not flexible. That one, hey, if they stop paying me, I want to stop working on their ticket automatically, right? So eventually we turn the app. Then people love it. We have people have 200 technicians, save them tens of $1,000 every single month. And because all this automation always works 24/7, no capacity issue, no attitude, no vacation, no sick time, no ruling the ice, right? It legitimately 100 times better job, right? Super crazy ROI there. And some others like we have tons of them, right? The attendance manager, actually, we developed it during the COVID. because we want to chase people. I always believe my training always utilization is #1 KPI for technician, right? If a technician not enter their date, enter their time entry inside your PSA, there's not much to analyze, right? You cannot manage a technician without understanding what happened. Then when the
Right.
COVID happened, everybody from work at home remotely, the team just lost the visibility. So we created this visibility and utilization driver. And then the last one, the peer group benchmarking, right? Like I said, every single one, I don't care which peer group, you got to learn from other MSP. So we help to build the peer group benchmarking as being really valuable.
It sure has. So before we get to my favorite slide, which is the next one, we are running short on time, but we do take questions from the audience. You can leave it in the comments from wherever you're watching. We'll put them up on the screen and answer them as well. But now for my favorite slide, which is the 5 common mistakes. I love talking about mistakes. That's how I get so smart, by making so many mistakes.
Yes.
So I think I might help you with these, Daniel, but you talk about number 1 first for me.
Yeah, I think the number 1 become like less and less one, because now you cannot go to anywhere. Nobody, I think, say, oh, automation is not important, right? I think everybody understand automation is a key. Automation is a do or die, situation. But when you ask what they think versus what they're doing, you really have that mindset and culture to say, hey, we're gonna do automation or our company gonna die, right? I think that's what I start saying. It starts shifting, but it's not where I think it should be.
You were predicting the future. Now, number 2 is one of my favorites. Have a good manual process first. In the olden days, I would even say paper process and then digital process. But these days, it's pretty much digital process and then automation or tool. Automation usually requires a tool of some sort. And it's so important. Like even with the Eureka Process app, part of why we developed that was so many people would buy MSPBots or any BI software and go, okay, so cool. Now, what should I measure? Why should I measure it? What does good look like? And you have to have his manual processes first. So number 3, what does a dedicated resource for automation mean to you? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we work with so many MSPs, right? Typically the bigger, roughly somewhere like between the 40 to 50 employee-ish. I always find out that they have a dedicated full-time employee. It's some of the really crazy names. Standard one, automation engineer, automation freak, which is a real job title for one of our favorite clients, and he's proud about that, right? So all kinds of automation engineer, automation freak, automation, technician, right? Process enhancement. There's all kinds of the people put in the dedicated resource. If you believe the automation gonna change the paradigm, right? Make you, 10% more, 5% more net profit. Why not put a dedicated resource? But also I understand, right? Typically it's very difficult for the people who's only on the, a smaller size. It's very difficult to have a dedicated full-time resource, but you should have somebody in charge of, working on this.
You
right?
can have dedicated without full time. That can still work.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do have a new record. I have a 6-person MSP I've talked to who has a full time dedicated automation resource.
I know.
He was like, the only way we're going to be able to scale this is to make sure our automation is constantly increasing and doing the work for us to scale. It was genius. So number 4, not engaging with community, peer groups, or make your own peers, whether it's Reddit or IT Dog. If you're watching this, you're already engaging with the community, spread the word to do that. And another favorite of mine, the setting and forgetting mentality. Oh yeah, I did automation once, so we're good now. Do you have a short story, Daniel?
So automation is hard, right? This is a little bit self-serving because, but I work with a lot of. They say, hey, we paid MSPBots, we paid a couple $100, couple of $1,000. We should be fine. If that's easy, I would charge you, $50,000 a month, and a lot of company will happily pay for it. So automation is not a magic wand. It's a lot of work. It's super rewarding, right? I see the people implemented automation, they typically get it somewhere, minimum like 5x return. Some of them 10, 20 times return of the money they put in the automation. But in the meantime, at this stage, right, it still need a lot of work and maintenance, the management, monitoring it to make sure it is working. It's not different than some of your employee. I would just argue the automation is a better employee, but it still needed the management there, to constantly working. Why this one stopped working, right? That software changed some of the, and you process also morphing into the new one, especially now with like AI, all the stuff is happening so fast.
And you're going to have a good manual process on how to manage your automation.
Yeah.
It never ends.
I would say, people heard about that, Michael E. Gerber, right? E-Myth, right? You need to work on the business. You're working on the automation is working on the business. You're working on one of the ticket, why one of the incident, that's called in the process. Because automation solve the many, many issues, many, many days to come.
Right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to try to keep us on time. We're just a couple of minutes late.